Hello, viewers. Good evening. Oh, yeah, Tunde is here, so we'll be taking over the.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Can we all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, good evening. This is our weekly live show, Great Minds Inspiration. And it's a nice thing tonight that we are gracing your screen wherever you're watching us from. We do this every Friday by 9 p.m. GMT plus one. And we come with topical issues that transverses um, relatable areas of interest like the family, health, um, relationship, finance, and all of that, social media, tech, everything that will affect the human life positively. We bring that to you, and learning, like they say, is always a continuous thing. So we come here with our experiences and we share from our experiences and hoping that our viewers can learn one or two. Tonight, the topic that we are going to be discussing tonight is everyday wellness, simple habits. Everyday wellness, simple habits for a healthier life. And so, with me tonight is Terry. Terry, good evening. Terry, we can't hear you. Unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, so again, I have by my right hand side, okay, that's by my left on the screen. Sheil, Sheil, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having
Well,
me here tonight. I'm grateful.
you're welcome. Welcome to our live tonight. Please, just just for us to have a good um, listenership and for the audience to be able to hear us properly. If we're not speaking, we just mute ourselves, and when we are to talk, we unmute. So, like I said, the topic before us is everyday wellness, simple habits for a healthier life. So, I will just start with Terry tonight to help us lay a foundation. What is the need for this topic? Why do we need to to even talk about our wellness? Terry.
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. It's always good to be with you. Yeah, this topic is important. I feel that it's something that can help us to be able to aim for a better living. Um, Discussing this topic would help us to be able to live a better life, both physically and mentally. So, if you ask me, I think it's a good topic, especially given the fact that we live in a world now where people want to live longer and people are putting more effort to live healthier. So, what are the tips that we can apply with the hope that we can achieve these aims? And that's the purpose of the topic. So, I think it's relevant.
Okay. Show any additions to that?
Well, thank you, Dr. Terry. Like Dr. Terry said, I would just had well, maybe tonight I'll be representing more of women's health, because there's a lot. And it's important that we all live healthy. It saves us that money, that time, that energy. Rather, it increases our productivities in life for God as well. There's something I say that you can't have a car for 27 years and not service it. It's not possible. Something would wear out. So we need to get serviced. So maybe perhaps we've been living our lives anyhow. Oh, it's okay. We can eat anything. We can do anything. But this is the time for us to, think again and live a productive life, a healthy life. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic. So I like the fact that you said that you can't use a car for 27 years without it being serviced. So it naturally means that there's no superhuman, none that has been created, none that has lived, none that has broken the Guinness record, that stayed on planet Earth for 30 years and without needing service, like you point out. Okay, so Dr. Terry, so can you help us out? Can you just give us before we look at the in specifics, before we look at this in specifics, can you just give us a general overview of when we talk about this topic, everyday wellness? What are the general things that a layman should consider for him or her to live a healthy life? Just a general overview before we go to specific. Or mute, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I will start by establishing that health is a gift, and I believe it's from God. Uh, some of us or some people might be more fortunate than others. Some people might suffer from ill health for reasons out of their control. Sometimes due to genetic makeup, sometimes due to where we stay or where we live. We might have infectious diseases. We might have had an accident that might affect our quality of life. Most of these things I mentioned are not within our control, and we acknowledge this. However, we will try to talk about what we can control that can either prolong our life, improve our quality of life, and improve our health. Generally, I think that we will be touching several areas, which will include how exercise and avoiding sedentary lifestyles would contribute to a better health. The would try to talk a bit on health care itself as medical practitioners. What do we need to do to in terms of health checkups, screening tests, and all that that can better improve our chances of living longer and living healthier. Other things that might be useful to this discussion would be the importance of appropriate diet and hydration. We'll also be talking about so aside from appropriate diet and hydration, other things we'll need to dwell on would be things like the need to take good fluids, the need for adequate rest. We will dwell a bit about our emotional well-being, mental health. It's also very important. A lot of times people think your health is just about your physical health, but sometimes the emotional and mental part is also as relevant. And I think this is the areas that we would try to dip our hands into, and hopefully we can have a productive 1 hour that is valuable for our viewers and ourselves. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Uh, well, you've just given us a summary of what our viewers should be expecting tonight. So, having laid this foundation, um, Dr. Sheo, you will help us now to, because while Dr. Terry was talking, he mentioned exercise as some helpful tips, like the health checkup, regular health checkup. Can you help us? Let's go to the crux of the matter, which is for us to see these habits in specifics now. So, can you help us speak on the regular health checkup? How does that contribute to our wellness? Got you.
Okay. So first, I will talk about when people talk about divine health, oh, I can't fall sick, that also comes with a price. I will still talk about, we having checkups. So you can't say you have divine health if you've not even had any checkups. So it's important that we have our regular health checkups at least, let's say, twice a year. For instance, the first analogy I talked about, I spoke about, having a car for 27 years, definitely the car would need to be serviced in order to be efficient. So now, I don't know, we have viewers, we are different phases in life, different age. There are people who don't really think about having checkups because they feel everything is fine, and sometimes you just hear, oh, so person just died, and you now be wondering what actually happened. Perhaps maybe the person's blood pressure is high and it has been uncontrolled for years without the person not even knowing. Some people might have even had, maybe whilst they were sleeping, a mini stroke, and then they knew something happened, but they will still carry on living without even having any checkups. Some may even just feel that their bodies are not, are not, something is just wrong. Something is not in shape. So even if you feel everything is fine with you, that you still need to have checkups. For instance, I've talked about blood pressure, just having just a machine checking your blood pressure. You may not even know what that means, the reading, but you can talk to a professional, like a health professional, to take you through how to go about some of these checkups. For instance, some people could have high blood sugar, which we people generally call, or medical is termed medically as diabetes. And with diabetes in people's or like with high blood sugar in people's, let me say it in a very layman's language, with high sugar in people's blood, they would not be strong, they would be prone to different diseases, infections, so many things. And before you know it, they may just say this person just became unconscious. This person, had stroke, ischemic stroke, all manners of stroke, all manners of diseases. And that is why we need checkups. Sometimes I remember some time ago, somebody said to me that, oh, because he's very slim, he thought everything was well with him. He never needed to have a checkup. Not until I think maybe he was 45 and something happened. He can't, well, I don't know the details, but he had to just go to the hospital. I remember one of my uncle, telling me about one of his friends one time, that this man used to walk, back to back. For people who are living in diaspora, they walk back to back. Sometimes the aim is just to send money back home, to live comfortable life, so they walk. And all of a sudden, one day, this man just fell. And he knew instantly, because at the time he was working in the healthcare sector, he knew those were signs of stroke, and immediately he had to call the ambulance. But what about places where they don't have ambulance? In order not to have, some of these things, early checkups is important. Go to your doctors, ask for blood checkups, ask for everything possible. So let me stop there so that my other colleagues can take over. Thank you.
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So nice points, nice point, nice point, nice point. So while you were speaking, I don't know, we I want us to be a little bit practical, um, in the sense that because we will be having audiences that transverse both from the people that are economically um, buoyant and those that are, well, a little bit on the flip side of the divide. that do not have the wherewithal to meet up with the financial obligations that come with regular checkups. Whether we like it or not, yes, they say health is well. But we know that in this part of the country, Nigeria, where I am presently, um, health actually is wealth. It might be for some people that regular checkup looks as if then what we are saying is a big investment. So what are the things that where I'm going now? What are the little things that someone that is not does not have much, financially? What are the things that they should consider doing regularly that will help their health, especially in a society like ours, where um, where the government is not even helping, when people do not have access to good health care and all of that. What are the things that those that are in the low level can do regularly to help check their health? Anybody? Dr. Terry, Dr. Sheon, if you
Okay,
can.
I can attempt to answer a question. Yes, we can't eat our cake and have it. You can't drive your vehicle and say because of no money, I am not going to be oiling it and expect to live that your vehicle will live as well or serve as well as another person who is maintaining his vehicle to the specification of the manufacturer. They are never the same. Unfortunately, we live in a society where many people cannot afford to do the right thing, and it's not their fault, we understand. But that will not make us to run away from the fact that that is one of the reasons that is something called the circle of poverty, where poverty is directly linked to ill health. The poorer we are, the higher the chance that we will suffer ill health. That said, what are the things we can do in our own little ways? There are a lot we can do, even without enough funds. One of them is improving our knowledge and education about health. So, our people tend to thrive a lot. I'm sorry to say, but it's the truth. They tend to value ignorance and thrive in ignorance. In fact, we have people who will tell you they prefer even the uneducated or ignorant or whatever kind of therapy or than the ones that went to school. That's the kind of concept we have. That said, if we can improve our knowledge, we will be able to identify when things are not well. We can identify when our body is not okay or something is not right, and then we should have the habit of trying to seek advice or help as early as possible. Other things we can do is if we are ill and we are prescribed medications, at least we should try to take our medications. There are little things we can do like routine blood pressure check, blood sugar checks. These are not things that are quite expensive, but are doable depending on our situation. So there are things that we can do irrespective of our financial situation. However, we must acknowledge that the fact that we have poor access to routine checks means that overall our communities will not live or will not live as healthy as it is in developed countries. I don't know if I try to be practical, but there are a lot. We are going to be talking about things like exercise and all that. We've not gotten there. These are things that can be done irrespective of money. But we're just talking now about health, as in health professionals seeking seeking help in the health setting. What can the poor person do? There are a lot they can do. But the other parts we'll talk about, which is the bulk of this discussion, irrespective of our financial status, there are a lot we can do in those areas. But even in the health area, we will try our best, irrespective of our financial conditions, to do things that we can do within our power. And for me, I want to stress the need to not glorify ignorance. That is one of the major problems we have. You even see them when doctor is talking, they will say, Doctor, I beg. Now, the one when that person talk, and maybe what that person is saying might not be the best advice, but they don't mind, they take it. And these have led to ill health. The other aspect of religious ignorance, where people use God and religion to promote practices that are unhealthy, are things that even if we are poor or rich, we can still do. So that's where I would want to answer your question from.
Okay, fantastic. For us, we have because we have so many things that we want to say tonight. We have all heard that, but one thing that is very certain is that even if those that are financially, those that would consider themselves as being financially deprived or do not have the wherewithal to meet up some of the things we are talking about. What about exercises? And so that this will bring me to Innocent. Innocent, welcome to our live tonight. Okay, so Innocent, can you help us? What are the exercises? What are the things that relates to exercises and avoiding sedentary lifestyle that will help improve our wellness every day? In specific, what exercises do you consider can help um, our viewers so that they avoid sedentary lifstyle? Are there specific exercises that we're supposed to indulge in or engage in every day, monthly, weekly, or as a lifestyle? Innocent, can you hear me? Did you get that? Did you copy that? Innocent did not hear that too. Okay, any of my panelists can help with that if you copy what I said. Dr. Shion,
Yeah,
do you hear
thank
that?
you. So, from what I heard is that, what can we do, without using ignorance as excuse? What kind of exercises can we do for people, who don't have pains on their legs? I mean, or who don't have, how do I say it, in a sensitive way, who maybe can walk without even sticks, even people who are using walking aids, they still try to do exercise. So having to walk like 30 minutes a day would help improve one's lifestyle. 30 minutes a day. Sometimes, according to research, they say 150 minutes in a week. But if we can do more than 30 minutes in a day, or like every day, at least just walking distances. Some people nowadays, with some of these Fitbits, I mean, all these wristwatches, health wristwatches, one can try to achieve 10,000 steps a day. So this one does not have to do with money. It has to just to do with willingness to change one's lifestyle. Because with immobility, meaning that not moving around can actually impact people's health negatively. It can bring about anything we're talking about, like we've talked about high blood pressure, high blood sugar, stroke, all manner of diseases. So we need to be active. And like Dr. Terry said, sometimes, we talk about, health, divine health. Oh no, I won't fall sick. Yes. But like we've said, everything comes with a price. Everything. So even live a healthy life, it comes with a price. So walk with God, it comes with price. Everything comes with a price. For instance, I don't want to have stroke in the future. If I eat certain kind of food that predisposes me to having stroke, I need to stop it now. This has nothing to do with money in quotes. Sometimes, when we think we are poor, we may even say, oh, let me just eat this thing so that because I don't know what I will eat tomorrow. Even at that, the sign of richness is not about what people eat, but rather, if you are rich in your mind, you will be healthy. You would watch the things you eat. You will eat, in a balanced way. There are times, like Dr. Terry said, ignorance is not an excuse. I may not know what balanced diet means. I could ask people. I can browse. There are some people that, looking at them, I don't mean by their size, but you know that they are disciplined in certain areas. I could actually ask them, can you teach me what are the things you eat? How do you do it? You do exercise. I see you jogging in the mornings. How do you do it? Can you tag me along? Can we go together? Even sometimes in our places of work, especially for people that work with computer IT people, many people they want to be IT consultant, but it also comes with a price. Even in the midst of that job, sitting down in front of a computer, you can decide that you take nap, you take small naps. You go here and there, you go here and there. And nowadays people talk about fasting. For us for Christians, they know more about fasting, but it does a lot of wonders to people. You may choose not to even eat before 12 every day if you can, and you may decide that in a week you would fast, not just only for health reasons, but also, when we're talking about lifestyle, we're not just talking about health as a whole, in terms of physical health. We're also talking about mental health. We're talking about spiritual health as well. So that spiritual health too is important. That mental health too is important. And then that physical health is very important. Thank you.
Nice submission. So, for Dr. Terry, you have some people that just believe that they don't, they don't, because of their ignorance. You see, this they prefer the orthodox, the traditional medicine than the is it the orthodox? Which one is the orthodox now? Prefer they prefer that our local herbs than the med the orthodox medicine. So, what's your take on that? What's is there any good in this our local herbs that people take, this indiscriminate use of herbal medicines? And so what's your own take on that? Does that contribute to our wellness? Does that aid us? Because since if I cannot buy, if I'm sick and I cannot go to the now in Nigeria, for instance, tablets are very expensive. If I cannot buy anti-malaria drugs, and I have one woman that sells agbo, according to that's the way they call it in Yoruba, that sells for 200 naira, and the anti-malaria they sell in pharmacy will cost me about 3,000 naira. But I'm taking care of my health. What's your own opinion about
Thank you
that?
very much for this question. It's a very relevant question. You made it very easy when you said indiscriminate use. So I will say no. Indiscriminate use of anything, even orthodox medicine, is no. However, if you change the question and say the use of trado medicine, I won't say no. And the reason is this. Um, most orthodox medicines that we know today, many of them have roots, origins from herbs and other form of natural products. However, the main difference is that the advanced world have tried to develop those herbs and process them, first of all, by identifying the components that that will treat a certain condition, and then extracting that component and then make it what we call a drug. Remember, I am trying to talk as layman as possible, so I will leave out the complex things. So just this is the concept of a lot of medications. For example, quinine, chloroquine. Some of these medications had origins that can be traced back to natural medications. However, unfortunately, in our own environment, we have not made any effort to improve. I'm not saying all the cases, because I know there are research institutes that are doing quite a good job. So I'm not going to, but I'm saying in a vast majority of cases, we are still very backward in improving our herbal medications. Now, what is the impact of this? The impact is that, let me give you an example. If I'm taking a certain herb, maybe to treat a particular problem, when this has not been processed properly, the problem is that I might be taking many medications at the same time, because these natural medicines comes, they don't come as single. Let's give an example. A leaf might contain agents that can treat this. So because these have not been processed and extracted to the point where we can get the particular agent that we will use to treat, I might then be taking a medication, meaning I am actually taking many medications at the same time. And I will talk about the impact of this. Also, because we've not done enough research, we've not been able to know the exact dose that is needed for this person based on his weight that will solve the problem, so as to avoid the person taking too much or too little. The impact is that when people are very ill, they try to take a lot, thinking, the more I take, now I go kill the thing. But the side effects then becomes a problem. So if you are getting my story, I'm not condemning herbal medications. I am just saying that unfortunately, our inability to improve on them, unlike countries like China, which have done very well with their herbal medications, will mean that we are more prone to have a lot of side effects from our herbal medications, most of which too have not followed due process in being checked and be sure that they are safe for human consumption. Now, one of the most readily and easily proven side effects that had become an endemic in Nigeria, at least as at the time before I left that country, is kidney failure. We've had a lot and a lot. I have personally seen a lot of young people come down with kidney failure that could be traced to their use of herbal medications. And the main problem remains the two things I highlighted. One, the the fact that we have failed to process and work on what we have, what God has given us. Two, the fact that most of the time they don't come with the proper dosing or recommended dosing, and people take what they like, forgetting that these medications have side effects, just like the orthodox medications. So, if we are taking these medications, the herbal medications, in a way that is scientifically proven, of course, I would be happy. In fact, I am one that would want to see our herbal industry grow, but I want it to be done scientifically and in a way that is beneficial for the general public. I must also add that these medications are not very cheap. I used to think they were cheap, but if you ask questions, you find that sometimes they are also quite expensive. But people,
Probably the refined ones. The refined ones are expensive, but there are still some local ones that are very cheap that they
the
sell
more local,
they sell
the
in
more dangerous it might be.
yeah,
Anyway, the fact is that
they sell in
Let me
nylon.
contribute to
the,
You just
I
shake it
mean,
like this inside bottles and
yeah,
put
the
them
fact
inside
is that
nylon. That's the one that is very prevalent that people use, consume. Even those expensive ones you are saying, some of them are even NAFDAC approved, and those ones
yeah. So
are
the
very
fact
expensive.
remains that I, based on my professional standing, I cannot recommend some of these medications, mainly because, not because they might not work, but as scientists and professionals, we look at the overall picture, not just um, looking at it at a focal level. So overall, some of these medications are not healthy. I see some of them, they put them in containers that they move around for days, for weeks, and they keep pouring, mixing. You can't expect me to recommend these. I would just say people should be careful and mindful of what they take, and I would just advise that our scientific community should try to see if they can improve on what we can offer. I believe there is a lot to offer in our herbal industry, but we are failing to utilize it. That's my take.
All right, thank you so much. Well said. He was here, let them hear. Welcome. I hope you can hear us, Innocent.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Your network was playing a trick. Yes, we can hear you. Nice. Okay, so I'm coming to you now. Can you help us? What are diets? Because when we're laying foundation, Dr. Terry mentioned just like an introduction and help us to understand things, an overview of what we can do to keep us healthy, to keep us well every day. And one of the things he mentioned was our dieting. So can you help us? What are those diets? Um, how does diet contribute to our everyday wellness? And what are the diets that we should consume or run away from? Over to you.
Thank you for that, for leading me to. Well, before I actually hit on your question, I would want to talk about what Dr. Terry said about the herbal medicine. I don't want to skip that. It's really very important. Now, when you're talking about
Your network again.
Innocent, you can try to switch off your video. It will give you a better access.
Can you put off your video and just speak to us if you can hear us? Okay. I will push the question back to Dr. Shield. How does our diet contribute to our well-being, our wellness? So what are the things that we consume that can kill us or make us, that can make, like we will always say, well, when do this, well, the food that we eat, what are the food that we eat, the things we consume that can make or that can mar us?
Thank you. So
Yeah.
before people used to say, oh, don't eat this, don't eat that. I'll still come back to that. But whereas these days people say or preach it's in moderate, like you have to think about the portion size. Then so portion size is very important. Also sometimes, okay, let me now give other examples. For instance, in some certain food you don't need salt. Some people don't even put salt in their food because they've got maybe family history of hypertension, or that means literal translation means high blood pressure. So they've because they've been told by their doctors to cut off salt intake, so they eat little or no salt. Sometimes we preach that, or we say that the Maggi, I mean the spices we use, some of them contain salt. So that is salt enough for our food. So you don't have to put salt in your rice, you don't have to put salt in your yam, you don't have to put salt in some certain things if you are using the other spices. Also, for instance, sugar. Some people eat sugar, they drink Coke, they drink Fanta. At some certain age, you don't need it. If at all you want to take something sugary like Fanta, it has to be in moderate quantity, maybe once in a while. For instance, I'm not using myself as an example, but I can't remember the last time I drank Coke. Years ago. Not because I don't like it, not because I don't feel like. I'm just using that as an example. But really, I can't. The last time I can remember was many years ago, maybe like almost 10 years ago. So that's aside. So anything that contains sugar, for some people they like chocolate, you can eat it in moderate quantity. But if you've checked your sugar levels, I mean your blood sugar, and it's high, you don't need some of those things. Also, there are some fatty food or like white, some people say maybe white bread. You can eat, if at all, in moderate quantity. But rather, it's better to just, if you can do away with anything really that has got lot of starch, you can cut them down. And then some people also talk about processed foods or like processed much more processed food, like cakes. You can, but in moderate quantity. So if you think of the moderate, it's not like eating cake every day, eating chocolate every day, eating this every day. There has to be a moderate and a balanced diet. For instance, you can decide that when you go to work, you don't want to eat that eba and egusi, you don't want to eat that rice. You may decide to go with salad, maybe just only leaves, and if you decide to put mayonnaise, if you don't, it's okay. You may just train your appetite not to crave for starchy foods. You may decide that, okay, today at work, the only thing I want to eat today is only chicken, and it's okay. And some people also do something like soups, like just using only greens, vegetables, they just blend it and that's what they will have. So when we have that balanced proportion of, the leaves and vegetables, the small carbohydrates, the low fat, it would help. So it's a mix of everything in moderate quantities. Thank you.
Fantastic, 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 fantastic. Someone once said that um, you are what you eat, and most of the deaths that people die as a result of what they put into their belly or their stomach. So, Dr. Terry, I would like us, because um, aside from this issue of exercise, especially in Africa, where we party a lot, and food is like the way we used to show how how we have arrived. We show forth our so it's a big subtopic for us to discuss. Like she has mentioned so many things, that she has mentioned balance, but are there things that you consider that we should run away from totally? Are there things that you consider we should consume more of? Because in my own contribution, while I was doing research, I know of a setting that the Japanese, in the Asian countries, in the Asian world, they live longer than most parts of than Africans, than every other part of the world. And then while they were asking someone, they said, "What is that thing that they consider that every human should consume more?" And they said that if there's any food that you should eat more in your life that will help your body system, they said nuts. They mentioned nuts, either groundnuts, either cashew nuts, either any type of nuts that is very, very healthy. So, and that's why I'm still want us to reiterate on this dieting. What can you say about dieting contributing to our everyday wellness? Are there foods that we should focus on? The food that we should run away?
Okay, thank you so much. I will stick to what Shenwa said, and that's what I believe too, and that is balanced diet. And that is channeled around your taste. So people have different tastes and different choices. And good enough, there are healthy alternatives that is suitable for everyone. If you're a vegetarian, if you are whatever, there is always something healthy that you can prepare for yourself. The aim should be balanced diet, a bit of carb, a bit of protein, a bit of dairy, oils, healthy oils, fluids, and all that. They are all important in our diet if we can get it right. Um, I would say specifically about our African diet because I know our target audience is mostly our people home. Truth is, I love Nigerian foods, and in my house we eat Nigerian foods. However, we tend to have a lot of carb in our diets, very high carbohydrates. So I would say that one thing we can work on to improve health is to reduce. Carb is very important. Your rice, your yam, and all that, they are very important. But we need to reduce the quantity that we take. It's very important. Carbohydrate is um, one of the foods that, when taken in excess, is very, very unhealthy. Can lead to obesity. It even has a higher chance of causing obesity than fat that we think. So that's what I want to add there. Then we'll talk a bit about meats. It's recommended as we grow older, from 40 and above, that we try to limit red meats, especially what we call beef, that beef meat and all that. And then we can try to take more of lean meat.
And that's the one I love most
And
too.
take more of lean meats, something like chicken. You can do your research and check what is categorized as lean meat. They tend to be more healthier. They're not saying don't take it at all, but you can limit it. And then spice, we take a lot of spice, pepper, and all that. The advice I will give in that aspect is that for some persons it might trigger ulcers and all that. So we should take it in moderation. If we find ourselves in that category that likes it very spicy. And I don't want to specifically condemn any food, because most diets can be edible and eatable as long as we take it in the right moderation. And definitely as long as it's not poison we are taking. So in my head right now, I can't seem to be able to pinpoint one thing I would just say I advise people not to take. But I've tried to bring out some points and they are very important. Our carb level is very high. I didn't know until recently. And we need to cut it down a bit. We take a lot of, rice in the morning, rice in the afternoon, eba, in the evening, yam, and then we end up having the side effects that come with this. I hope I have been able to add something to something.
Yeah, you have been able, and the next point the next question I'll just be asking is Innocent. Innocent, this is my question to you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, so yes, I can. So the next question would be that, given the fact that carbohydrates seem to be um, the most common type of food in Africa, in Nigeria, can you help us? Give us what, like a 2 day or 3 day meal plan of a balanced diet that is not expensive for a a a a commoner. Let me not let sorry to use the word commoner, for the low income earners. How can they? Because some people do not even know. For instance, I'm going to give you just a tip. Um, in Lagos now, one food that is it seems to be very cheap now is plantain, right? Now, for those of us that are in the Yoruba speaking part of Nigeria, we love amala. But amala is very, very expensive. The yam made amala is very expensive now. So what people do now is to turn their plantain as alternative for amala, as alternative for garri, I mean for eba, just for swallow now. So they shred the plantain, the unripe plantain in bits and blend it and now turn it and it becomes their staple food. Do you get? So many people do not even know that that is um, another way of making food again. Do you get? So there are things that we might be able to just say that, okay, maybe Dr. Sean, because you are from the female gender, you'll be able to help in this regard. But I want because as I'm looking at Innocent, it seems he likes kitchen very well. So maybe you'll be able to say one or two things. How to live, I mean, food that will not be too expensive to live a balanced diet. I just at the time that I was giving him the floor, the network can't him off again. So, Dr. Shield, Please help Innocent.
Okay, thank you. So one thing I would say is plantains in general, they contain potassium, which people need for strength. When it comes to unripe plantain, I'm not too sure about it because sometimes it's not just the way it looks, but the end product, the way the body breaks them down is what is important. Um, so it is good. It's much more healthier than Gary because Gary contains more starch. Okay, let me allow Mr. Innocent to take over, please.
Innocent, can you speak now? So before your network innocently takes you out again. Okay, please go ahead,
Okay. Yes.
Dr. Shem.
Okay. So we can't hear you, Mr. Innocent. Okay. Okay. So like as I was saying, so the end product matters. So I'm not so sure, but because unripe plantain contains less sugar compared to ripe one, compared to the ripe one, so I feel that it may be healthier. But like I said, all of these things has to still be in moderate quantities. Also, we may know, I don't know how much oats is very common, but oats meal too is very good. It helps reduce one sugar level. Yes, it's because it has a lot of fiber. So when people take this kind of food, they can go to toilet easily, they can feel full, their hunger level will be suppressed. So instead of them feeling very hungry, they feel full for a longer period of time. And that is the catch when you look at other foods like chocolates, ice cream. Once you take them, Coke, all those fizzy drinks, once you take them, you become more hungrier. Let me use that word. And then you crave for something sweet more. But whereas when you eat things like nuts, like you rightly said, Mr. Tunde, it makes you feel full for a very long time and it will reduce your appetite. And that is one thing about, whether we talk about weight loss or healthy lifestyles, things that can make you feel full for a longer period of time. And then you now eat maybe one or two things later on and you are okay for the day. And with just small changes in lifestyle within 1 week, 2 weeks, you feel everything, will be different. You'll feel that something has changed in your life. Your relationship with people will change, your relationship with God will change. It changes everything about you. Just 2 weeks, of changing everything. And like we're talking about, not just only physical health, we're talking about also emotional health. If you are this kind of person that you're always very angry, you need to calm down. Probably you are stressed. You need to rest. You need to take water, rest.
Hold on your thought on that. Yeah, that's the we will go into now, that you should speak on our emotional wellness. So what's your advice on how people can uh, okay, Dr. Terry wants to speak, but I will allow you. You still speak on that. Both of you will have your time on that. But so, Dr. Sheo, what's your own
I just
advice?
Yeah, I
Can you
just
hear me?
wanted to add something before we move on from this topic of diet,
Okay,
which is water. Water, the
okay.
importance of water is part of our diet.
Wow,
It will be very
very,
unfair if
very
we don't
important.
touch it. If you take little food and a lot of water, trust me, you will be more healthy. I didn't know this until my final year in university. And how did I discover it? I read it
Hmm.
in the books, but one thing is, reading is different from practical. So during my university days, anytime I have exams, I'm usually very, you know,
Rated.
as in I look haggard. You will know that because I was always the last minute preparation kind of person that trying to meet up with those who have been preparing since day one. And so towards my final year, I got this
Fico.
idea that take a lot of water, and I started doing that. Do you know that my last four exams, I was adding weight during my exams because then I used to be very slim, but I was looking fresh, looking healthier. And so I practice that till today, and I will say it helps. Any period I slack, I notice a difference. But anytime I'm doing it steady, what do I do in the morning when I wake up? I first take a glass of water to start my day, and my morning meals tend to be something that involves adding water, like flakes and all that, or to improve the amount of fluid I take. And I found that that is very helpful. I just wanted to add that we are recommended to take 6
Important,
to 8 glasses at least a day. Thank you.
very nice addition. But there's a caveat. What you just said now, me, I'm not seeing the effect. The effect is having on you. I'm not seeing the effect on myself because I take a lot of water. I start my day with, if you know what we call pure water, sachet water in Nigeria, and that's a full a one of it will is, I think, about either 1.5 glass cup or 2 glass cup, and I take that before my meal in the morning. I finish that for before taking to maybe 2 hours after. Then I before I eat. And usually, water is always the last thing again I take before I go to bed. Now, when you say your 4 papers, it made you to add weight. Me, it's not making me. I'm not adding any weight. So maybe
Yeah,
maybe
just to,
that's
just
just
to briefly
your
comment
own.
on that. That was why I stressed when I mentioned
Sorry,
weight, that it was not just about weight. So adding weight is not always a sign of good health. That's what I must say. So there is genetic
oh,
component to
oh,
how you look and all that. But I can tell you that by nature and evidence, if you reverse your good practice, what you think you should be better, but you might actually be worse if you revert to your good practice. So I would just recommend you continue.
oh. That was just
Yeah.
just by the way, I was just trying to crack. But I know that it has helped me a lot because as you take in fluids more, then you tend to visit the toilet more. It's like it washes the system you get. So it makes me, the fact is that it makes me sweat a lot. Makes me sweat a lot. Makes me so I will, of course. So, and those are healthy things that it helps the body too. So I know that water is not it's a game changer to anybody's health. Okay, so Dr. Shem, can you help us now on the emotional
Okay.
wellness? How does emotional
Uh,
well-being contribute to our overall
okay.
wellness?
Health is a how do I say it? When you look at the definition of health by the WHO, it's a complete package. It's not just one-sided physical health. Also, emotional and mental well-being is also part of our health. For instance, some people, when they feel down, when they are not happy, they may decide to take solace or comfort in eating anything, whether unhealthy. They just want to use that food to suppress the way they are feeling. That is not a good way of addressing one's emotional health. So if, for instance, if you are this kind of person that, any small thing, triggers you, you are bitter against people, this person, you will not talk to that person, you have so many baggages, then you are not healthy. You are not healthy emotionally. You are not healthy physically. You are not healthy spiritually. So you need to find, solution, to that emotional state of yours. That's how I would put it. So God wants us to be happy. God wants us to live a fulfilled life. So you can't be shouting all the time. You can't be, yeah, there are things that might have triggered it, but you can decide, to learn what gives you happiness. You can decide to learn what reduces that triggers for you. There are some people that, for them, the reason they are not happy is because of domestic violence. The reason they are not happy is because there is no money. The reason they are not happy, maybe emotionally, is because they are not succeeding. But how can we, move from all of these things to being healthy is the most important thing. Seek help. you know, seek professional help, seek help, in a godly way. I mean, professional helps, anything that you think is good and godly, seek help. That's what I'll say. And sometimes, as women, we carry lots of baggages from different places here and there, relationships, but God wants to heal us. And I remembered something that, like I said, I was going to talk about women's health. Sorry, just spare me just short time. For women, at some point we need to do cervical, screening, pap smear, and all that, just to detect if there are any cancers in the cervix and all that. We also need tests, like they call them, mammogram or breast check, to check if there are lumps, which could be signs of, like, it could be cancerous, which means it can mean that one may have cancer, or it may just be there as benign, which may later grow into cancer cells. So early checkups, routine checkups are very important for women and for men as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osho. Fortunately, you are always you seem to be ahead of me. That was the next thing I was going to ask you.
I'm
So,
sorry.
so, no. So it's okay. I like the fact that your approach now. You have spoken about the for the women. So Dr. Terry, you will help us. What about the men? What are the checks for a middle-aged man, and as from the middle age now, growing up, what are the checks that he's supposed to be very conscious of those things? Because she was mentioning cervical cancer and all of this. So what is the direct um, the order for the men? What are they supposed to look at?
Okay. So all adults, there are checks we need to check ourselves, whether male or female, especially when we grow older, at the age of 40 and above. We need to find out these tests. I don't want to specify because different countries have different modalities. Um, if you have some family history of certain things, then it means you might need to start checking yourself earlier, depending on what disease is in your family. I don't want to be specific. Then, talking about men in particular, um, we talk of screening when we think screening has a high chance of preventing of causing a disease to become one that we cannot cure or treat. So one thing that I will talk about for men is prostate cancer screening, and this is because it is one of the cancer that um, can be found early enough and treated, and is a bit common in older men. So the chance is higher as we grow older. In fact, there's a theory that says that if we live old enough as a man, we will all get prostate cancer. That means if we live old and old, maybe to 121, there is a time that prostate cancer will come at us. But depending,
Really?
it depends. So it just means that the older we get, the higher the chance. So how can we go about it? Different countries have different modalities. Again, I would not recommend any right here. Some countries recommend doing PSA, which is prostate specific antigen test, to be done from the age of 50, depending on risk factors. Again, I would not recommend. It all depends on the country and situation. However, we can decide to run these tests if needed. We can decide to also see our doctors who can be able to put their hand in our anus and check how, because from the anus we can actually feel the prostate gland and check if there is anything funny there, which can be sometimes like stony kind of feeling or hard feeling that is not usual and that will require further investigations. Um, this is the one I want to stress because when it's found early, many people can actually get a cure. Now, what are the symptoms of this particular disease? Remember, we shouldn't wait till we get symptoms. That's the whole idea of screening. But if we can even get the problem early and present to our doctors early when it has come in, then we have a better chance of surviving it. If we, as older men, begin to notice that our passing urine has become another work during the day, that means we don't just go to the toilet and pee and forget about it. Sometimes we might stay a bit longer trying to bring out the pee or something. Or if we find that we pass urine quite regularly at night, maybe before we go to pass urine once or not at all, but now we find that in the night we may go 4 or 5 times. These are some of the early symptoms that may suggest maybe we might have a problem with our prostate. And lastly, I will say that not all prostate problems are cancer. There are the type that is not cancer and have similar symptoms, but we need to check once we have any worries. And if possible, not wait for worries, but rather do proper screening. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Unfortunately, time is always a challenge. So we have hit the mark. We have 8 minutes past our regular 1 hour time. So on the final note, I'll just give my panelists 1 minute to tell us what other things they want to add to this discussion that we may not have covered that you just want to add on final notes. Dr. Sheung, you first. Unmute yourself, you're mute.
The host, yes. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. I'm grateful. So I want to say that divine health is very possible. However, it comes with a price. Everything comes with a price. Ignorance is not an excuse. Like Dr. Terry has said, we can live healthy. Even in our old age, we can live healthy. Don't forget that everything we do now, would affect our tomorrow. How we live our lives today would affect us when we are in our 80s, in our 60s. So it's a build up. We don't just build a castle in a day. We lay the foundation and then we start building. So let's start building a healthy lifestyle from today. Thank you, everyone.
We have Maz in the building. Maz, good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Maz came in when we were rounding up. So, Dr. Terry,
Yeah,
before you round up, Dr. Terry, Maz, we have been, I don't know, maybe you've been following us at the background. Just greet our viewers and see 1 or 2 things that may be on mind about the topic tonight, everyday wellness.
I think
Simple
you guys have
habits.
said a lot.
Okay.
Sorry,
In
there's an echo in the
in
background.
1 minute.
Yeah, you guys have said a lot, and one of the key things that I would say is we have to do away with ignorance. Ignorance is not bliss. You need to actually accept new ways. The technology has gone a long way, has actually given us a lot of advantages, and I want to say everyone take advantage of those things that technology has given us. You can go for checkups. You can even do them from the comfort of your house. You can read online about things. It's one thing to know it, and it's another thing to do it. When they tell you that this diet is not good for you, what steps have you taken to cut out that sugar or to reduce the starch intake, the portions that you eat? As we grow older, our bodies change. So you need to be aware of this. And also peace of mind. My dear, there's nothing as good as just having peace of mind. Sometimes don't just invite yourself to trouble when you're not invited. It's a different thing when trouble comes to knock on your door. Well, I would say just avoid busybodies. Just be on your own. Especially when you become older, you will cherish peace of mind. Peace of mind is a gift. You will cherish it. Being able to be happy in yourself, contentment. Comparison is a thief of joy. So being content. I hope I've rounded it up in 1 minute because it's quite a lot to take in. But I feel most of these things, we already know them, but it's putting them into practice that is a problem.
Thank you very much, Maz. Innocent, if you could hear us, just say, give us your own thoughts about tonight's topic in 1 minute before Dr. Terry wraps
Can you
up.
hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, go ahead.
It's unfortunate that I couldn't
1
follow up.
minute.
I had a lot of cut-offs. You guys said a lot of things, and I really appreciate everybody's idea. But I want to talk about one aspect. It is portion. Portion. Like when talking about food, portion. The problem with us in Africa is that we tend to have big portion of food. It is not how much you eat. Notice that our body is about 70% water. So water is more important than the solid that you are eating. So cut your portion and drink more water. That's it.
Thank you very much. That's very apt. Dr. Terry also mentioned that earlier on. Dr. Terry, any final word?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. My final word in 1 minute, which will not happen in 1 minute though, is that one, rest. Talking about rest. As soon as I wanted to talk about rest, I saw Mars. Mars has been on break. Welcome back. Good to have you back. So rest is very important. It helps to improve your mood. It reduces stress. It helps the brain to function, improves your immunity. I can tell you that it's good. I've started trying to practice it. Before I used to work a lot, but now I try to take a lot of breaks, and it's very good. Can't stress that well enough. Unfortunately, I keep saying that we live in a community where people have to work a bit more just to even get their basic needs. Hopefully, we will improve. And lastly, I want to talk a bit about the emotional wellness, which we've dwelled on. But just to add one part, marry right. Marriage is one of the greatest stressors, especially when you marry wrongly.
Voila.
Do not rush into marriage because of age or anything. There are a lot of factors to look into, and if you get it wrong, a lot of people who had lived healthy before marriage find themselves going through a lot of mental and emotional stress. Marry right. Marry right does not always mean the person you married is the wrong choice. It may just have not been the right choice for you. So for those who are not married, that is another advice I would give. For those who are married, make the best of what you can. Thank you.
And that is where we end tonight's show. We hope that our viewers have been able to learn one or two tonight. Until we come your way next week, we say thank you very much for allowing us grace your screen tonight. See you next week. My name is Tunde Gold. See you next week. Thank you.